Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. 1,500 kids got bogus homeopathic pellets instead of life-saving vaccines in New York.
Oh, cool. My favorite.
Yeah, this comes to us from Ars Technica. And a midwife in New York administered nearly 12,500 bogus homeopathic pellets to roughly 1,500 children in lieu of providing standard life-saving vaccines. So my wife used a midwife when she gave birth, and when she was in labor, there was a moment where this was like, it wasn't discussed with anyone beforehand, where the midwife was like, "Oh, well, you know, she's in pain, so we have this homeopathic thing that I can give her." And it all happened so quick that, like, I was like, no, homeopathy doesn't do anything and could actually be harmful, so I'd rather you didn't. And without waiting for her to answer whether or not she wanted it, she just popped it in her mouth.
Jesus Christ.
And then at that point, it's basically a sugar pill, so she can't not swallow it at that point. So, like, yeah, sometimes midwives can push stuff that's not really appropriate. Yeah,
one thing that
says I would have been livid. Yeah, I was livid, but it wasn't my moment. So, like, my wife was not making a big deal out of it at the time, and I'm like, I'm not going to sit here being like, I should have been the one making that medical decision for her while she's in labor. So we just kind of let it slide, but.
Awkwardly reminds me of there's a medicine you can get here in the States. I don't know if you can get it there, called Zicam. It's a zinc tablet that you're supposed to take in case you have a cold, and it's supposed to lower the duration of cold symptoms, theoretically. But then, like, listed right on the bottle is the words homeopathic. So I don't know exactly how much of that pill is actually zinc and how much of that is sugar. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, because that's one of the big problems with homeopathic stuff, is because it's not regulated in anywhere near the same way as actual medicine. They're not subject to the same sort of requirements to make sure that their capsules and pills and whatnot contain actually what they say they contain. So it's completely, and that has led to people being getting sick and dying because the factory that was making the homeopathic remedy wasn't diluting the thing properly, and if you don't dilute it properly, it's literally poison. They give a little explanation. So homeopathy is a pseudoscience that falsely claims that medical conditions can be cured or prevented by extreme ritualized dilutions of poisonous substances that cause the same symptoms of a particular disease or condition when administered directly. So, like, if you have an upset stomach, you find something that, if you take it on its own, will give you an upset stomach. You then dilute it to a point where it no longer contains a single atom of the original substance, and then that dilution is supposed to make you feel better. But because
then you're just taking water.
Yeah. Which, like, with the way homeopathy is supposed to work, like, the water that I'm drinking right now should have all the magic memory of every substance it's ever come into contact with since the formation of the planet. Because that's how the water cycle works.
Yeah, water doesn't contain a freaking memory. And everybody who purports to be like a homeopathic remedy person, that they always have to go with the idea that water has this memory. We have no evidence that it does, and if it did, all water is 100% arsenic. It has to be, because it's come into contact with ground that had arsenic. My middle school, Brown Barge, had an amount of arsenic in it that, granted, not enough to be lethal, but if you had ingested the dirt for a certain amount of time, it would have been problematic. But they're like, we don't think kids are ingesting the dirt.
So here's the thing. Every single homeopathic remedy, the water that is used to dilute it goes back into the water table at some point.
Yep.
Which means it gets mixed with all the rest of the water. So literally every single molecule of water on the planet should be the homeopathic remedy to everything. Don't
Is that why water cures everything?
Don't even start. All right, she's been bugging me about how like apparently salt water cures everything. I did gargle with salt water today.
I mean, salt water does work on your throat.
It
So does
does.
honey.
Yeah, I also took honey. I also drank lots of tea. So I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, but my throat felt a little better before the stream.
Oh, black tea?
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't really drink any other teas. There was one green tea that I used to drink, but I don't have any in the house at the moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, anyway, in 2022, federal authorities sentenced a homeopath in California to nearly 3 years in prison for selling bogus COVID-19 immunization pellets and for falsifying COVID-19 vaccination records. In New York, the person who did this, it began before the pandemic, and she didn't update it to include pellets for COVID-19, so she might have lucked out on that. We've got Stratahawk saying salt water does kill bacteria. Yes, it does.
And salt kills a lot of things.
It does kill a lot of things. Yeah, it's a mild antiseptic, which is why it helps with sore throats. New York Health Department deleted all of Breen's false vaccination records for the 1,500 children and is contacting the parents as well as affected schools so they can actually like get real medicine.
Because they weren't actually vaccinated. It's astounding to me how many people have made arguments about how it was inevitable that COVID was going to end up this way. There was never any way we could have stopped it from turning into what it is now and how it's endemic to the population. And I'm like, well, considering that every person ever on every stage of everything, everywhere, dropped the ball. Yeah, you're right, but also not for the reasons you think you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say they usually do it by saying that, masks never did anything for you and distancing never did anything for you. And then they never look at the decreased rates of influenza during the COVID pandemic that happened because we were distancing more. It's weird.
Yeah. So Schrodinger's cat says, and here I was thinking homeopathic was just like herbals and stuff. Yeah, so that's a common misconception is that homeopathic remedies are the same as like supplements and just natural remedies or whatever. The problem is they're all regulated as supplements, which basically means there's next to no regulation. And they're sold in the same section of the pharmacy, usually right next to real medicine. So it's really easy to like accidentally buy not medicine that is labeled as medicine.
Yep.
And
it sucks.
They get through a lot of loopholes. But like in New York, they're sitting here like they're charging her with not providing vaccinations with homeopathic stuff, but then they still allow homeopathic stuff to be on the shelf right next to actual medicine, making medical claims on the bottle.
And there's a weird catch-22. Yeah, no, too.
But they have that little disclaimer at the bottom that says that these medical claims haven't been evaluated by the FDA. So that's what
that thing that nobody reads.
Yeah.
That's the thing that bothers me about like back to the Zicam thing. So we've done studies on zinc and found that the body actually does benefit from having a higher level of zinc when you are suffering from a cold, when you're suffering from those symptoms. It does lower that. But how the fuck am I supposed to know how much zinc is or any is in this tablet?
That's another problem. So we use melatonin in our house to help regulate, because like some of the kids that travel back and forth between different households don't necessarily have the same bedtime, and melatonin can help kind of like reset your circadian rhythm. Mm-hmm. And there is evidence to suggest that like it helps with like actually helping people have higher quality sleep. It's been shown in studies to help people with ADHD get better sleep. So I've actually tried it myself. The problem is melatonin is sold as a supplement. So like, yeah, it says on the label that you get 5 milligrams of melatonin in this gummy.
But fuck it,
But like, you might not. Like, and melatonin specifically, there have been some studies where they've tested different melatonin supplements, and they found that like in one that was labeled 10 milligrams in the same bottle, they found some that had like 2 milligrams and some that had like 25 milligrams. So it's like, I don't want to be
not actually testing it.
Like, I don't want to be taking random amounts of it. I want it to be consistent. So it's like, and Fennec says, get the ones that are third party tested. Which ones are those? Like, I can't fucking find them. Like, and my daughter, my oldest, she also takes melatonin, but she's also vegetarian. So there's like one brand that has vegetarian friendly gummies.
Oh yeah, because you can't have the
gelatin.
Yeah.
And for whatever, like, I don't know if you can get it as a capsule in the States, but it's all gummies in Canada.
It's all, I think there's a capsule for it here, but almost everything that I've taken has been gummy.
Yeah. Duct Tape Jake says, that's an average of 10 milligrams. Yeah. I don't...
You know, if you take more melatonin, it will get more accurate over time. Just overdose on melatonin. Sleep forever.
Oh, that sounds appealing.
No, stop. That's not what that means.
So Breen agreed to a settlement order that permanently bars her from providing immunizations and accessing the state's vaccine record system. Good. The penalty was $300,000, but she paid $150,000, and the state is suspending the rest on the condition that she stay in compliance with the state's orders. So if she violates it again, it's an immediate $150,000 fine.
You know she's going to be the type of person that tries to violate it again, because she was the type of person to do that in the first place.
Yeah. And misrepresenting or falsifying vaccine records puts lives in jeopardy and undermines the system that exists to protect public health. Yeah, if you send kids to school saying they've been immunized against the measles, but they haven't been, then they could bring the measles to school and potentially get a bunch of kids killed.
And behold, you get an outbreak of measles. How weird.
Yeah. And like people don't remember the measles. Like if you actually look up what the measles does to people, it's fucking deadly. Not only is the measles itself deadly, but it also wipes out your body. Like, I forget the exact numbers, but when you look at like the number of types of antibodies specific to diseases that your body produces, the measles wipes out your ability to produce. It's something like in between 20 and 95% of your antibodies. So like whatever immunities you have to other diseases, either from vaccination or getting the disease itself, the measles will potentially it'll wipe out that immunity and you can now be susceptible to these other diseases.
Just wipe them out like permanently?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you get the disease again or get vaccinated again, that can bring it back. But like
it makes you a blank slate.
Yeah, it makes you start from scratch. And like that's not a good thing. It's like, if you get the measles, you should probably get all your childhood vaccines again.
Remember, these are the people who go, hey, natural immunity is better. Okay, what does natural immunity mean?
It means you got sick.
Yeah. So if you get sick from the measles, is it better? No,
because it wipes out your immunity, natural or otherwise, to all these other diseases.
God, it's so strange that happens.